Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Bon après-midi, mesdames et messieurs. We're here this afternoon for the main press conference for the 38th Assembly. We have with us today President Roberto Kobe Gonzalez, President of the ICAO Council, and ICAO's Secretary General, Mr. Raymond Benjamin. Because we're a little pressed for time and the proceedings ended a little late this morning, we're going to begin right away. I'd like to ask that later during the question period that you reserve your questions to high-level policy matters and refrain from asking overly technical questions. If you do have any especially technical questions, you can bring them to my attention after and I'll direct them to the appropriate officials inside ICAO. Mr. Kobe, if you're in line.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome again to this 38th session of the Assembly. Member States and invited industry representatives are meeting in a context of the rapid and dependable air transport connectivity is essential to the socio-economic hopes and expectations of people and business all over the world. ICAO forecast indicates that traffic will double by 2030 to 6 billion passengers and 60 million flights a year. Expanding our capacity is barely in 2 decades poses significant challenges to aviation planners from the standpoint of safety, efficiency, security, economic viability, and environmental stewardships. Business and travel all over the world are looking to ICAO to help manage this process with little or not impact on current service levels. And this is precisely what our member states are here to accomplish over the next 2 weeks. ICAO is looking for endorsement at this event on important global safety and air navigation plans that will help states and industry find harmonized solutions to these challenges. These and other solutions we are proposing over the coming deliberations has been designed to be flexible so that they can equally apply to all states and all operational profiles. The ICAO Council, the Air Navigation Commission, and Secretariat have done a great deal of groundwork leading up to this 38th Assembly. We are expecting clear guidance from our member states on the path ahead, and I am confident that this is what they will deliver to us. With this, I conclude my introduction. Now I pass the Secretary General.
Bonjour, mesdames et messieurs. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. As you are maybe aware, our organization has 5 strategic objectives. The first one, which is the foremost, is the safety of our air transportation. And as the President of the Council has just mentioned, with the doubling of the traffic that we will notice, and despite the fact that we have a very low rate of accidents, we have to do more, of course, so that we keep our safety records as low as possible. The second one is also linked to this growth of traffic, which is air navigation issues and infrastructure. And we will be presenting at the Assembly both the Global Air Safety Plan and the Global Air Navigation Plan. Our third strategic objective is aviation security and facilitation. We have to guard against terrorist acts, whatever they happen at the airports or in the air. But we have also to make sure that passengers are moving expeditiously, because that is what aviation is all about. Our fourth strategic objective, and this is not in an order of priority, these are all equal objectives, is the one related to environment. It deals with noise, local air quality, and the issue of climate change. which is one of the main focus of this assembly. Finally, the economic development of air transport is something that we have to worry about in terms of better connectivity, but also consumer rights. So these are the elements that the President and myself are looking after. We are expecting this assembly to endorse a certain number of very important steps. And I will cut it short because what is important for you maybe is not to listen to speeches, and some of you are smiling, but to put to us questions. So, up to you now.
This time, 3 years ago, the Council couldn't reach an agreement to present a paper and draft assembly resolution to the Assembly. Then the Secretary General presented this paper. This time is the Council. The Council is presenting. We had a draft resolution that has been agreed by the Council, and we have to consider, of course, some paragraphs of the resolution during the course of this Assembly. But I think that we are in much better position this time than 3 years ago.
Let us just add, for your own information, that on the issue of climate change, aviation, both domestic and international, contribute to 2% of the emissions. That doesn't mean that we don't have to do our homework to correct and make our contribution to this. But just to remind you, we are speaking about 2%. Oui. Bon, merci pour me donner l'opportunité de me souvenir que je parle français de temps en temps, parce que l'anglais est prédominant ici. Nous avons identifié en matière de sécurité une des causes principales des accidents, c'est celles qui sont liées aux pistes. 90% des accidents se déroulent à l'arrivée ou au départ de l'avion, au moment où il touche la piste et au moment où il décolle. C'est sur cet axe-là que nous avons le maximum d'efforts à faire. C'est ce qu'on appelle runway safety, incursion and excursions. Donc c'est là-dessus que nous faisons le maximum d'efforts. Ah, vous parlez de sûreté. Ah, très bien. Très bien. Nous voulons, avec l'industrie, avoir un système de sûreté qui sera beaucoup plus futuriste et de distinguer des passagers en fonction du danger que nous estimons qu'ils représentent. Donc nous aurions une approche qui est beaucoup plus risk-based plutôt qu'une approche indifférenciée. Donc, plus de technologie, des appareils plus performants, une meilleure utilisation de l'information, c'est-à-dire de l'intelligence, et une meilleure différenciation des passagers. Oui, oui. Je vous le répète encore, nous aurons sur les aéroports des équipements plus sophistiqués. Nous aurons également une meilleure utilisation des informations. Vous comprenez, si un terroriste est déjà à l'aéroport, il y a de très grandes chances que les choses iront très mal. Ce qu'il faut, c'est qu'on l'arrête avant qu'il n'aille à l'aéroport. Et donc une meilleure utilisation des informations. Et enfin, nous avons vous savez que l'OACI a développé toutes les spécifications concernant les passeports biométriques et donc une meilleure utilisation des papiers d'identité pour cerner des terroristes éventuels.
The resolution that the Council is proposing to the Assembly consider a number of activities and studies during the next triennium. And the Council has to report to the Assembly in 2016. The feasibility, all the impacts, all the elements that could affect the market-based measures. And the Assembly in 2016 is expected to take a decision what will be the next steps. In accordance with the global aspirational goals that we have, is carbon neutral growth by 2020. Then the market-based measure should be established if the Assembly, the contracting states and the Assembly decides by 2020. This is the situation today.
Benjamin, si vous permettez, je vais vous poser une autre question en français. Est-ce qu'il y a un moyen pour les journalistes qui ne suivent pas ça de façon quotidienne de nous faire le point sur le travail qui reste à faire dans les négociations sur le climat? Il y a eu des choses de fait depuis 3 ans, et on entend dire souvent que malgré tout, l'accord est quand même très lointain encore.
Le président du Conseil et moi-même, nous sommes par définition des gens optimistes. Mais quand on lit la presse des fois, je me demande si ce que je lis, c'est ce que je fais. Alors je comprends très bien que les journalistes sont intéressés par ce qui est le plus frappant, bien sûr. Mais je peux vous assurer que nous sommes tout à fait confiants que par la fin de cette Assemblée, nous parviendrons à un accord mondial sur cette question. Par définition, oui. Par définition, oui. Mais ce n'est ni le président du Conseil, ni moi qui décidons d'un accord. C'est plus de 170 pays qui sont réunis ici. Mais nous ferons de notre mieux. Et de toute façon, ces négociations doivent aboutir avant la fin de l'Assemblée. C'est ça. Vous allez connaître les détails.
Oui, bonjour, M. Benjamin. Est-ce que ce serait possible d'avoir des exemples de mesures concrètes? On dit que d'ici 2030, il y aura un impact catastrophique sur la prospérité économique si on n'accélère pas les procédures de sécurité. Quelles sont les propositions concrètes? Est-ce qu'on veut que les aéroports se plient aux données biométriques? Qui doit payer la recherche? Est-ce qu'on peut avoir des exemples concrets de ce que votre organisation veut que les aéroports fassent?
How many of you are only speaking English?
Oh, you can answer in English.
No.
Sorry.
Well, let me try it again. Our first priority is to protect the life of passengers. That is our first priority. You can imagine what would be the reaction if there is an airplane or an airport who will be the subject of a terrorist attack. So, in order to do this, we are now looking at a risk-based approach so that we are not handling security in a uniform basis, whatever you are addressing yourself to an old lady of 80 years old or to someone else. We are following the same approach for cargo, also with high-risk cargo and less high-risk cargo. In order for us to be following this risk-based approach, we have to rely on more sophisticated equipment, liquids and gels. We have to put in place at the airport equipment which will be able to detect plastic explosives or liquid explosives. Secondly, we have to have the most reliable travel documents. As I mentioned, ICAO is the one organization who dictates all specifications for electronic passports. We are looking to the issue of electronic visas also. So all of that, linked with a better intelligence, would allow the passenger to go more easily to the airport.
We have time for one more question.
There's been a fair bit of skepticism about whether you'll be able to reach any sort of deal by the end of next week on the climate change. So I'm just wondering, for the draft resolution that you're presenting, how effective do you think it would be in terms of helping you stay on track towards the goal of 2020? Thank you.
First, I don't want that to have the impression that we are doing nothing in the climate change. We have been working for a long, long time. Airplanes today is 80% more efficient, more fuel efficient than 30 or 40 years ago. We have different elements in the basket of measures, and one of them is the market-based measures. But we have technology, we have operations, we have alternative fuels, and we are working in all these fronts. Then maybe the more difficult discussion is in relation with the market-based measures, but I want to not to have the impression that this is the only area that we have to work with. I am confident, and as Secretary General said, we are always optimistic that all the contracted states will reach an agreement this time of the work that the Council has to conduct in the next 3 years. And in 3 years' time, to take the final decisions. Even though aviation represents 2%, as the Secretary General said, international aviation, that is the one that we are dealing with, represent 60% of this 2%. That means 1.2%. This is what we are talking about. But this is not the problem. The problem is that aviation is growing, and we want that aviation keep growing. The sustainability is one of our priorities, and that's why we have to take some actions in order to combat the effect of the international civil aviation on the climate change. But we are confident that the states will reach an agreement, and the Council, I can assure you, will work very hard in the next 3 years in order to provide the Assembly all the elements to take the final decision what will be the next steps.
Ladies and gentlemen, that'll conclude the press conference. In 5 to 10 minutes' time, we'll have our Secretary General, Mr. Benjamin, back again with officials from the WCO and TIACA and ICAO to discuss air cargo cooperation and air cargo supply chain security specifically. If you'd like to come back for that, we'd be glad to have you. Thank you very much.